If you've been into like clothing YouTube for a while, I just want to bring it back to a time 2017, 8 years ago, which is wild that 2017 was 8 years ago. But one of my favorite clothing YouTubers at the time, and who continues to be very prominent within the clothing space, Fernando Rangel always wore a trucker hat, a black trucker hat. And that was almost indirectly like influenced by Justin Bieber wearing trucker hats all the time. This little gem in time kind of encompasses what I'm talking about today. We're talking about trucker hats. Howdy, y'all. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are safe, and I hope you guys are healthy. My name is Josh, and I absolutely love clothing and personal style. So if you're into that type of content, feel free to subscribe to me here on YouTube, as well as follow me on Instagram at where's_Galdo. This is a trucker hat. This has like a padded foam like crown, just a pretty flimsy bill here. This one I got as a souvenir from when I went to Arches National Park in Utah, so that says Moab, Utah, with the little devil baby right there. The back is mesh, so it's very breathable. Adjustable snapback right there. That is the general kind of construction of a trucker cap. But what I didn't know is that there's a little bit more of a story and background behind trucker hats. So let's get right into the history of them. Why am I talking about trucker hats today? Well, it's because here's a little bit of a preview because of that. And I'll show you guys that later. So, the trucker hats that we kind of know today started in the early 1970s, and they were made by companies, well, pretty much farms, truck driving companies, and other just rural America companies that gave them to their workers, and it was basically a symbol of blue collar, working class America. And these companies would initially have like their brand logos or slogans or anything like that on the actual crown of the cap itself. And why did they give it to them? Because these are extremely inexpensive. Even today, you can get a blank trucker cap for probably less than $20. I haven't looked it up, but really, really cheap for something so functional. This is a very soft upper crown. It shields your face from the sun, and the back provides ventilation so your head doesn't get too hot when wearing it. It was absolutely perfect for people who did physical, like manual labor jobs out in rural America. Not only did it benefit the wearer, it also benefited the companies that gave them away. Sometimes at some point in time, they were called gimme hats because these companies would give these hats away. And why would they put in the money to actually create these garments for workers or whoever wanted them? It is simply because it is free advertising, and whoever wears it becomes a walking billboard for that company. So it is kind of a mutually beneficial garment. Now, why exactly do we call them trucker hats? Well, the companies, like these trucking companies, would give these hats to their employees to wear and, obviously make use out of. And these truckers are going hundreds, if not thousands of miles across all over the country of the United States and more. And so these places are being exposed to the same product and being shown on truckers. So the hat just became synonymous with the profession. And that's why we call them trucker hats today. I was curious and I went ahead and Googled the phrase truck driver. Didn't include the word hat, didn't include anything specific, just truck driver. And immediately, one of the first pictures I saw was a dude wearing a trucker hat. So throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, these hats weren't only used to advertise for companies, people also put funny jokes and slogans on there, and they also used them as commemorative hats for events like races or competitions or things like that as well. So a lot of vintage trucker caps you'll see have just every print under the sun with them, and it's kind of just like a really usable novelty item. And little fun fact, one of the most popular trucker caps that have been available in the past, I don't know, like decade or so, have been the Capital Trucker Hat. Now, one of the biggest inspirations obviously is the trucker hat in general, that mesh back, that just foam front, but they're inexpensive to produce, like I said earlier, but also the whimsicality and the jokes and the slogans on them also inspired Capital to make their own Capital Trucker Hat, which is super popular today. Probably one of the cheaper things that you can buy from Capital. And I think they're maybe like $150, $200 ish. Moving forward a little bit in time, in the timeline here, we're looking at kind of like throughout the 90s into the like late 90s to early 2000s, brands like Von Dutch and Ed Hardy made trucker hats just explode in popularity again, particularly Ed Hardy for its just overly bedazzled, crazy designs, as well as Von Dutch, who was just a really popular brand at the time. I don't personally like Von Dutch or like anything that the founder stands for. You can go ahead and look that up yourself if you like. But trucker hats had its moment in that time as well. And it's kind of wild to me because Von Dutch and Ed Hardy are also having a little renaissance in popular like clothing culture nowadays, with a lot of younger people bringing back the 2000s in terms of, styles. Moving further on in time to about kind of the 2010s era, where I started to pick up clothing as a hobby. Well, there were a lot of people of influence that wore trucker hats. And I mean, I guess the biggest name is Justin Bieber. He wore a lot of trucker hats in that era, at which subsequently introduced me to wearing trucker hats. I didn't wear them a lot at the time, and in a lot of 2010, I had very long hair, and it made it very difficult to wear certain hats. But ever since I cut my hair, now I love wearing hats, and particularly trucker hats, because it's really hot in Las Vegas and summers are just unbearable. But another person that really put me on to wearing trucker hats is going to be Fernando Rangel. If you don't know Fernando Rangel, his old YouTube name was Designer Clothes 21. Changed it to his regular name of Fernando Rangel. He is the father of archive and curated vintage shops. He runs Silver League, Unsound Rags, and Blood Thinner. Still does things today that are very, very cool, and has a whole team behind him now. So Fernando Rangel was another person that created content that showed that basically you can wear a cheap hat and make it look good, and I was very inspired by that. And all that to say, I have two hats to show you guys today. One that I've already shown on the channel before, and then a new one that I just picked up fairly recently. I believe that I've shown this one on the channel before. This is a Chrome Hearts Las Vegas trucker hat. This one I got at the Fontainebleau location. This is a nice basic trucker cap. I have not yet been to the brim too much to my taste yet, but a solid just black trucker cap. Because I have blonde hair, it kind of shines through the mesh, which is a little strange, but not a bad hat. Chrome silver on the top button here. This cost me about, oh shoot, what was it at the store? It was like 275 bucks. Yeah, I believe it was 275 bucks at the store. Solid stuff. I obviously, if you've watched my channel before, I really like Chrome Hearts and their design motifs and stuff. So this was a no-brainer for me. Easy everyday hat. And then the new one is going to be this one. This also trucker cap, mesh back, silver top button. This is, if I'm not mistaken, I'm horrible at the naming conventions when it comes to Chrome Hearts, but this is a cemetery cap, and these have 3 leather patches on top, camo leather patches. If you know me, you know I absolutely adore camouflage. I love camo so much, and just seeing that this is leather patches and camo all together, so cool. Forgot to mention that there's Chrome Hearts branding at the back, but this hat is sick. I adore this thing. It was very expensive. Like it was $430 in store. So not a cheap hat by any means, which is funny and ironic because trucker hats used to be like the cheapest of the cheap hat that you can make, which kind of says something about me as a consumer. But Chrome Hearts convinced me. I got these 2 trucker caps from them, and I actually really, really like them. What's even crazier to me is that yes, those hats were expensive, but they go for even more on the resale market. I don't plan to resell mine at all because I just like the way that they look, and I'll just wear them. But seeing what I am very spoiled being in Las Vegas because we have 3 Chrome Hearts stores that I check pretty regularly, and so I just come across these things and go ahead and decide to buy them because they'd be a lot more expensive on the resale market. Now that I have short hair, I can wear hats very easily, and it's just kind of an everyday thing for me now. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like wearing hats, and do you particularly like trucker hats? I think that like the whole like lore behind it is simple, yet not something that a lot of people think about because it is such a inexpensive garment if you just buy a regular blank trucker hat. So let me know, are you guys rocking with trucker hats? I really like it because it's almost low-key association with like American history. But I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.